Ambassador Tai Hyun stood in front of the Council's First Contact Committee, reviewing his mission briefings one final time. In his 40 years of diplomatic service, he had initiated contact with 17 different species. He knew the standard procedure by heart. "Remember," Committee Chairman Wu Jin said, "these humans developed quickly, but they are still a young species. They will likely be afraid when they see us. They may worship us as gods or beg us for advanced technology. Be patient with them." Taehyun nodded. He had seen it many times before. New species were always overwhelmed when they first encountered the galactic community. Most of them offered to surrender immediately. Some tried to fight briefly before accepting their place in the Council's hierarchy. Dr. Yoon-ji, the mission's xenopsychologist, raised her hand. "Sir, the recent reports suggest these humans might be different. They seem unusually social." Chairman Wu Jin waved dismissively. "All primitive species appear social until they meet superior technology. Once they understand their position in the galaxy, they will behave like all the others." The diplomatic ship approached Earth's solar system 3 days later. Taehyun expected the humans to panic when they detected the Council vessel. Instead, his communications officer received an unexpected message. "Sir, we are being hailed by the humans," Communications Officer Young Soo reported. Taehyun was surprised. Most species tried to hide when Council ships appeared. "Put them on screen." A human face appeared on the main display. It was a woman, with dark hair and calm eyes. She was smiling. "Welcome to our solar system," she said in perfect Council standard language. "I am Captain Subin of the Earth Defense Force. We have been expecting you." Taehyun felt his first moment of unease. "You were expecting us?" "Of course," Subin replied. "We detected your observation probes 50 years ago. We have been preparing for this meeting ever since." Dr. Yoon-ji leaned forward with interest. The humans had not only detected Council surveillance, but they had spent 50 years getting ready for contact. This was not standard behavior for a primitive species. "We would like to arrange a meeting," Taehyun said, following protocol. "We represent the Galactic Council. We have important information to share with your species." Subin's smile grew wider. "We would be honored to meet with you. We have prepared a special facility for our first diplomatic contact. If you will follow our navigation beacon, we will guide you to a safe landing location." The Council ship followed the human beacon to a space station orbiting Earth. As they approached, Taehyun saw something that made his breath catch. The station was not just functional, it was beautiful. The design was completely different from Council architecture, but it was clearly advanced. "How did they build this?" Young Soo asked. Dr. Yoon-ji was scanning the station with her instruments. "Sir, the technology is not copied from our designs. They created something completely original." When the diplomatic shuttle docked with the human station, Taehyun prepared himself for the usual first contact reactions. The primitive species would either fall to their knees in worship or attack in fear. Instead, Captain Subin met them at the airlock with a small group of humans. She bowed politely and extended her hand in what appeared to be a greeting gesture. "Welcome to Harmony Station," she said. "We built this facility specifically for meetings between different species. We hope you find it comfortable." Taehyun shook her hand uncertainly. The humans were not acting afraid or submissive. They seemed genuinely happy to meet their visitors. As they walked through the station, Dr. Yoon-ji noticed something remarkable. The facility was designed to accommodate many different types of beings. There were areas with different atmospheric compositions, gravity levels, and temperature zones. "How did you know to prepare for various species types?" she asked. Subin looked puzzled by the question. "We did not know what you would look like, so we prepared for many possibilities. We wanted to make sure you would be comfortable." In the main conference room, Taehyun met the human diplomatic team. There were representatives from every major nation on Earth. Former enemies sat side by side, working together as if they had always been allies. But what shocked him most were the animals. Large wolves sat calmly beside the human negotiators. A massive bear rested in one corner of the room. Several big cats moved freely among the humans. None of them were caged or restrained. "Are those predators?" Taehyun asked nervously. They are our partners, Subin explained. This is Daeho, she said, indicating a large wolf. He leads our planetary scout teams. This is Nari, she continued, pointing to a sleek cat. She heads our communication analysis division. Dr. Yoonji was fascinated. The animals have jobs? Of course, replied Dr. Junho, the human team's scientist. Different species have different strengths. Wolves are excellent at teamwork and planning. Cats are superb at pattern recognition. Bears are perfect for heavy construction work. We learn from each other. As the formal negotiations began, Taehyun realized he was not conducting a standard first contact. The humans did not want to submit to council authority. They did not beg for advanced technology. They did not offer to serve as a client species. Instead, they wanted to become partners. We understand you represent a galactic community, said President Sehun, the lead human negotiator. We would like to join this community as equals and contribute to its success. Taehyun was confused. You want to join as equals? But you are a young species. You must first prove your worth and accept guidance from more advanced civilizations. The humans looked at each other with expressions Taehyun could not read. Finally, Subin spoke. Ambassador, we have been observing your species for 50 years, just as you observed us. We have learned much about council technology and society. She activated a holographic display that showed detailed information about council worlds, technology, and political structure. The data was completely accurate. We reverse-engineered your surveillance equipment, Dr. Junho explained. We studied your ships and communication systems. We learned your languages and analyzed your cultural patterns. Taehyun felt his confidence cracking. That is impossible. Our technology is far beyond your capabilities. Subin smiled gently. Ambassador, your technology is impressive, but it is not beyond our understanding. We simply approach problems differently than you do. She showed him examples of human innovations. They had created more efficient engines than council designs. They had developed communication systems that were faster and clearer. They had built materials that were stronger and lighter than anything in the council database. How? Dr. Yoonji asked. We work together, President Sehun explained. When we encounter a problem, we ask everyone to help solve it. Humans from different cultures bring different perspectives. Our animal partners contribute insights we never would have considered. We combine all ideas to find the best solutions. During the 3-day negotiations, Dr. Yoonji observed the humans constantly. She had never seen anything like their social structure. They seemed to genuinely care about each other's welfare. When one person was tired, others would take over their work. When someone had a good idea, everyone would build on it instead of competing. Most remarkable was their relationship with the animals. The predators were not pets or tools. They were true partners. The humans listened to the animals' input during discussions. They made sure the animals were comfortable and happy. In return, the animals were completely loyal and protective. This is not normal, Dr. Yoonji whispered to Taehyun during a break. Most species see other life forms as resources to be used. The humans see them as family members to be protected. On the final day, the humans made their formal proposal. They wanted to establish embassies on council worlds. They wanted to share their technology and knowledge. They wanted to help solve problems that had challenged the galaxy for centuries, but they would not accept a subordinate position. We believe the galaxy will benefit from cooperation between equals, President Sehun said. We offer our friendship and partnership to any species that wants to work with us. Taehyun realized he had no choice but to accept their terms. The humans had proven they were not primitive or weak. They had technology that could benefit the council. More important, they had something the galaxy had never seen, a species that could make natural enemies work together as friends. As his ship prepared to leave Earth's solar system, Taehyun felt deeply troubled. He was returning to the council, not with a new client species, but with news of a potential rival. The humans were not going to fit into the established galactic order. They were going to change it. Chancellor Byung-ho stood before the largest assembly in galactic history. Representatives from over 300 worlds filled the massive chamber. For the first time ever, the council had invited every species to participate, not just the traditional member governments. The change was obvious to everyone present. Delegates who had once been enemies now sat together peacefully. Species that had never spoken to each other were engaged in friendly conversations. At the center of it all were humans, moving easily between different groups, helping translate languages and mediate discussions. 5 years ago, Byung-ho began, we faced what we thought was a crisis. A young species called humans had developed faster than expected. We worried about how to control them. He paused, looking around the chamber. Today we gather not to discuss control but to acknowledge a transformation that none of us predicted. Chief Observer Yu Jin activated the main displays. The screens showed a galaxy that looked completely different from 5 years earlier. Trade routes connected former enemies. Scientific research stations operated with multiple species working together. Cultural exchange programs had eliminated conflicts that had lasted for centuries. The human influence has reached every corner of known space, Yu Jin reported. But this is not the conquest we feared. It is something entirely new. She showed images from across the galaxy. On Vega Prime, 3 species that had fought for generations were now building a shared city. On Wolf 359, former slave populations had established their own democratic government with human guidance. On Barnard's star, different alien races were collaborating on research that none of them could have accomplished alone. The humans did not force these changes, Yu Jin explained. They simply offered different ways of doing things. When other species saw the results, they chose to adopt human methods voluntarily. A delegate from the Rigel Confederation stood up. The humans helped us end a civil war that had destroyed our world for 300 years. They taught us how to find solutions that benefit everyone instead of just the winners. Another voice came from the Sirius delegation. Our economy was failing because we spent all our resources competing with our neighbors. The humans showed us how cooperation creates wealth for everyone. A representative from the Altair system added, we were dying from diseases that we could not cure alone. Human medical knowledge combined with our own research saved millions of lives. Chancellor Byung-ho listened to testimony after testimony. Every species had a similar story. The humans had arrived not as conquerors, but as helpers. They had shared knowledge, resolved conflicts, and taught other species how to work together. President Sehun of Earth stood to address the assembly. Around him sat his diverse advisory team, including the large wolves and cats that had become symbols of human-alien cooperation. Friends, he began, using the universal translator to speak to everyone present. 5 years ago, we took our first steps into the larger galaxy. We were excited to meet other intelligent species. We hope to make friends and learn from your wisdom. He gestured toward the mixed crowd of aliens and humans filling the chamber. We never expected this. We never imagined that our simple desire to be friends would change so much. Senior diplomat Ji Woo, one of the few original council members who had embraced the changes, stood to respond. President Sehun, your species has given the galaxy something we never knew we needed. You showed us that there was a better way to organize ourselves. The truth was undeniable. The old council system had been based on dominance and hierarchy. Stronger species controlled weaker ones. Resources flowed upward to the most advanced civilizations. Order was maintained through force and the threat of punishment. The human system was based on cooperation and mutual benefit. Different species contributed their unique strengths to common goals. Resources were shared according to need and contribution. Order was maintained through voluntary agreements and shared values. The results spoke for themselves. In 5 years, the human-influenced regions had achieved more scientific progress than the rest of the galaxy had made in centuries. Economic productivity had increased dramatically. Conflicts had become rare. Most important, billions of beings were living better lives. The question before us today, Chancellor Byung-ho said, is whether we accept this transformation or try to resist it. Admiral Won-jae, one of the few officials who still opposed the changes, stood up. This is not our way. The Council has maintained order for thousands of years through proven methods. We cannot abandon everything because one species has different ideas. President Se-hoon responded gently. Admiral, we are not asking anyone to abandon anything. We are simply offering alternatives. Each species can choose the path that works best for them. But your alternatives are destroying our system, Admiral Wanjae protested. No, said a delegate from the Centauri Alliance. The human alternatives are replacing systems that were not working. Our old agreements were based on fear and submission. Our new partnerships are based on respect and mutual benefit. Dr. Yoon-ji, now serving as Director of Interspecies Relations, presented the final data. The numbers were overwhelming. Every tabre measure of galactic health had improved in regions where humans had established a presence. Scientific discoveries were happening 3 times faster. Economic growth had increased by an average of 40%. Armed conflicts had decreased by 90%. Most remarkably, species diversity was increasing as different cultures learned to preserve their unique traditions while cooperating on common goals. The humans have proven that diversity makes us stronger, not weaker, Dr. Yoon-ji explained. When different species work together, they achieve results that none of them could accomplish alone. As the assembly continued, it became clear that the galaxy had already made its choice. The vast majority of species supported the human approach. They wanted to continue the transformation that had brought peace and prosperity to their worlds. Chancellor Byung-ho called for the final vote. We are here to decide the future of galactic governance. Do we maintain the old council system, or do we establish a new federation based on equality and cooperation? The vote was not even close. Only a handful of species chose to maintain the old system. The overwhelming majority voted to establish the Galactic Federation, with Earth's President Se-hoon serving as the first elected leader. As the ceremony concluded, Chancellor Byung-ho reflected on how much had changed. The humans had entered the galaxy as a species that everyone expected to submit to superior authority. Instead, they had convinced superior authority to become better. How did you do it? He asked President Se-hoon privately after the assembly. Se-hoon smiled, his hand resting on the head of his wolf companion. We did not do anything special. We simply treated everyone the way we wanted to be treated. We offered friendship instead of demanding submission. We shared our knowledge instead of hoarding it. We helped solve problems instead of creating new. But why? Chancellor Byung-ho asked. What did you gain from helping species you had never met? We gained friends, Se-hoon replied. We gained partners. We gained a galaxy full of people who want to work with us to build something better. Chancellor Byung-ho finally understood. The humans had not conquered the galaxy through superior weapons or technology. They had conquered it through superior values. They had shown other species that cooperation was more powerful than competition, that diversity was more valuable than uniformity, that friendship was more lasting than fear. As the delegates from hundreds of worlds prepared to return home, they carried with them the promise of a new kind of galactic civilization, one where every species had a voice, where different cultures were celebrated, where problems were solved through collaboration rather than conflict. The Council's final report, written by So-jin, who had observed Earth 50 years earlier, concluded with a simple statement. They thought Earth was innocuous because we measured strength by the wrong metrics. Humanity's power was never in their weapons. It was in their ability to make others want to be better. The galaxy would never be the same. And for the first time in thousands of years, that was exactly what everyone wanted. In space stations, throughout the galaxy, humans and aliens worked side by side, building a future that no one could have imagined. The age of dominance was over. The age of cooperation had begun, and it had all started with a species that everyone thought was too weak to matter. Director Sang-wook called the emergency meeting at midnight. The Council's highest-ranking officials gathered in the secure chamber, their faces showing worry and confusion. The report from Ambassador Tai-hyun had sent shockwaves through the entire government. Explain to me how a primitive species built technology that surpasses our own, demanded Fleet Admiral Wanjae. His military bearing made his anger obvious. Our intelligence said they were barely capable of spaceflight. Chief Strategist Haye Jin activated the main display screen. Images of human space stations and ships filled the room. The technology was sleek, efficient, and completely unlike anything in Council databases. The humans did not steal or copy our designs, she reported. They created entirely new approaches to space travel, energy production, and materials science. In some areas, their solutions are better than ours. Senior analyst Ji Hoon stepped forward with more disturbing news. The situation is worse than we thought. Our monitoring stations throughout the galaxy are reporting human presence in over 50 star systems. The room fell silent. Admiral Wanjie was the first to speak. Impossible. They just achieved interstellar travel. How could they spread so far so quickly? They are not conquering worlds, Ji Hoon explained. They are visiting them. Human ships arrive at inhabited planets, make peaceful contact with local species, and establish what they call cultural exchange programs. Director Sang-wook felt his stomach tighten. What kind of cultural exchange? Hee-jin pulled up surveillance reports from across Council territory. The data painted a picture that no one in the room wanted to believe. On Kepler 442b, humans had arrived 2 months ago. They had quickly learned the local language and begun teaching the inhabitants new farming techniques. The planet's food production had increased by 30%. On Ross 128b, humans had helped resolve a civil war that had lasted for decades. They had introduced something they called mediation that allowed both sides to find solutions without fighting. On Proxima Centauri b, humans had shared medical knowledge that eliminated 3 diseases that had plagued the local population for centuries. This is not normal expansion behavior, Admiral Wanjie said. Species explore for resources, territory, or strategic advantage. Why are the humans helping random alien populations? Dr. Yoon-ji, who had returned from Earth with Ambassador Tai-hyun, stood up to address the room. Because that is who they are. They cannot help themselves. When they see suffering, they try to fix it. When they meet new people, they want to be friends. That makes no strategic sense, Admiral Wanjie argued. Helping other species weakens your own position. Not for humans, Dr. Yoon-ji replied. For them, helping others makes everyone stronger. They believe that happy neighbors make better partners than conquered enemies. Haye Jin showed the room the most troubling data. The species that have met. Humans are beginning to change. They are adopting human ideas about government, society, and interspecies relations. The evidence was undeniable. On world after world, local populations were implementing what they called human-inspired reforms. They were creating democratic governments. They were establishing equal rights for different social groups. They were forming peaceful alliances with former enemies. It gets worse, Ji Hoon reported. The species that have been influenced by humans are spreading these ideas to their neighbors. The changes are expanding faster than the humans themselves. Director Sang-wook studied the data with growing alarm. The Council had maintained galactic stability for thousands of years through a careful balance of power. Strong species dominated weak ones. Resources flowed upward to the most advanced civilizations. Order was maintained through hierarchy and control. The humans were destroying this system without firing a single weapon. Show me the economic projections, he ordered. Hee-jin activated new displays. The numbers were shocking. In every system where humans had established a presence, economic productivity had increased dramatically. Trade between former enemies was booming. Scientific collaboration was producing new discoveries at unprecedented rates. The human approach is actually more efficient than our system, she admitted reluctantly. When species cooperate instead of competing, they achieve better results with less waste. Admiral Wanjie stood up angrily. Efficiency is not the point. The point is control. If every species thinks they are equal, there will be chaos. Sir, Dr. Yoon-ji said quietly, I do not think there will be chaos. I think there will be something we have never seen before. She showed them videos from human-influenced worlds. Instead of the conflicts and tensions that normally existed between different species, there was unprecedented cooperation. Different alien races were working together on projects that benefited everyone. They are creating a new type of galactic civilization, she explained. One based on mutual respect instead of dominance. Director Sang-wook realized the full scope of the threat. How many council members have been exposed to human influence? Ji-hoon checked his data. 47 member worlds have reported human contact. 31 of them are showing significant social changes. 12 have formally requested changes to their relationship with the council. What kind of changes? Admiral Won-jae demanded. They want more independence. They want representation in council decisions. They want to be partners instead of clients. The room erupted in angry voices. For thousands of years, the council had operated on a simple principle. Advanced species guided primitive ones. The strong protected the weak in exchange for resources and loyalty. The system worked because everyone knew their place. The humans were teaching other species that they did not have to accept their assigned places. Director Sang-wook called for order. What military options do we have? Admiral Won-jae was ready, with an answer. We could blockade human space. Cut off their expansion before it spreads further. Would that work? Director Sang-wook asked. Hee-jin shook her head. The humans are not expanding through conquest. They are expanding through invitation. Other species are asking them to come. A military blockade would make us look like the aggressors. Then we destroy their homeworld, Admiral Won-jae suggested. Remove the source of the infection. Dr. Yoonji looked horrified. Sir, that would be genocide. Besides, it might not work. Human ideas have already spread to dozens of worlds. Their influence might continue even without them. Director Sang-wook felt the weight of an impossible decision. The council faced a threat unlike anything in their history. The humans were not trying to conquer the galaxy through force. They were conquering it through friendship. There is something else, Ji-hoon said quietly. Our own populations are being affected. He showed them reports from council core worlds. Citizens were learning about human society through entertainment and news reports. They were beginning to ask why their own governments were not more democratic. They were questioning why they had to serve more advanced species instead of being treated as equals. Human cultural exports are spreading faster than their physical presence, he explained. Their movies, music, and literature are becoming popular throughout council space. People are starting to imagine different ways of organizing society. Admiral Won-jae was furious. Ban all human cultural imports. Stop this contamination before it spreads further. It might be too late, Hee-jin said. The ideas are already out there. Banning them might just make people more interested. Director Sang-wook looked around the room at his advisors. For the first time in his long career, he had no clear path forward. The council faced an enemy that could not be defeated through traditional means. What do the humans want? He asked finally. Dr. Yoonji consulted her notes from the diplomatic mission. They want to be friends with everyone. They want to share knowledge and resources. They want to help solve galactic problems through cooperation. And if we refuse, they will probably leave us alone and work with species that want to be partners. But more and more species are choosing to work with them instead of us. The terrible truth settled over the room like a dark cloud. The council was not facing an invasion or a rebellion. They were facing obsolescence. The humans had created a better way of organizing galactic civilization, and other species were choosing that path voluntarily. Director Sang-wook made the hardest decision of his life. Schedule a full council assembly. Every member species must be informed of the situation. As the meeting ended, Admiral Won-jae approached him privately. Sir, we still have military options. We could stop this before it goes too far. Director Sang-wook shook his head. Admiral, we measured human strength by the wrong standards. We looked at their weapons and technology. We should have been looking at their ability to make others want to be like them. He stared at the images of humans and aliens working together peacefully. We thought Earth was innocuous because they were weak. We never considered that they might be strong in ways we did not understand. The galaxy was changing, and there was nothing the council could do to stop it. Commander Hyunwoo stared at the blue and green planet spinning slowly on his view screen. After 20 years of exploring the galaxy for the council, he had seen hundreds of worlds. Most were dead rocks. Some had simple life forms. Very few had intelligent species. This one called Earth looked like all the others. Another primitive world, he said to his second officer, Sojin. She was young and new to space exploration. This was only her third mission. The species barely discovered fire a few thousand years ago. They still fight with metal weapons and chemical explosives. Sojin looked at her data pad. The information about Earth showed a world full of problems. The dominant species called humans lived in separate groups that constantly fought each other. They had hundreds of different languages. Their technology was weak. They had not even left their own planet yet. Sir, should we mark this as a low priority world? Sojin asked. Hyunwoo nodded. Category 7, minimal value. We will check on them again in 1,000 years. Maybe by then they will have learned to work together. The council ship stayed hidden behind Earth's moon. They had been watching the planet for 3 months. Everything they saw confirmed what the council expected. Humans were divided, violent, and backward. They spent more time fighting each other than improving their lives. Sojin watched the humans through the long-range scanners. She saw wars happening in different parts of the world. She saw humans destroying their own environment. She saw millions of them living in poverty while others had too much wealth. It all seemed normal for a primitive species, but something bothered her. She noticed small things that did not fit the normal pattern. During natural disasters, humans from enemy nations would help each other. When earthquakes hit one country, their enemies would send food and medicine. When floods destroyed cities, people from different races and religions would work together to save lives. Commander, Sojin said, I am seeing unusual behavior patterns. Hyunwoo was reading reports from other worlds. He did not look up. What kind of patterns? The humans show unexpected cooperation during crisis situations. Yesterday, I watched a group of them rescue animals from a burning building. They risked their own lives to save creatures that were not even their own species. So what? Many species protect animals they use for food or work. Sojin shook her head. No, sir. These were wild animals. Animals that could hurt them. They gained nothing from saving them. They just did it because the animals needed help. Hyunwoo finally looked up from his reports. You are overthinking this, Sojin. Primitive species do strange things. It does not mean anything important. But Sojin kept watching. She saw more strange behaviors. Humans would adopt baby animals whose parents had died, even dangerous predators. They would spend their own money to heal sick animals they found in the wild. They created special places to protect species that were dying out. She watched human families. Unlike most intelligent species, human children stayed with their parents for many years. The parents would sacrifice their own comfort to give their children better lives. They would work dangerous jobs to pay for their children's education. They would give up their dreams so their children could achieve their own dreams. Most strange of all, humans seemed to care about other humans they had never met. They would send money to help strangers in faraway places. They would travel across the world to help people of different races and cultures. They created organizations dedicated to helping others with no reward for themselves. Sir, I think we should extend our observation period, Sojin suggested. Hyunwoo was getting annoyed. Why? We have enough data. This species fights constantly. They have hundreds of separate governments. They cannot even agree on basic things like how to measure distance or what calendar to use. They will never unite enough to be important. Sojin pulled up more data on her screen. But sir, look at their art and entertainment. They create stories about beings from other worlds. They imagine meeting alien species and becoming friends with them. Most species create stories about defeating outsiders. Humans create stories about understanding them. Fantasy means nothing, Hyunwoo replied. What matters is reality. And the reality is that humans are too divided to ever leave their planet. During their last week of observation, Sojin watched something that made her think even more. A space station from one human nation was having problems. Astronauts from 3 different nations, including ones that were political enemies, worked together to fix it. They shared resources and risked their lives for each other. She also noticed that humans had thousands of different languages, but they kept creating new ways to communicate with each other. They built global networks that let them share information instantly. They translated their books and movies so other cultures could understand them. They seemed to want to connect with each other despite their differences. So Jin saw humans teaching their children to be kind to others who looked different from them. She saw them creating laws to protect the weak from the strong. She saw them building schools and hospitals in poor areas where they would make no profit. Most important, she saw something she had never seen in any other species. When humans met animals that should be their natural enemies, they often became friends with them. She watched videos of humans playing with large predators. She saw them healing dangerous animals and releasing them back to the wild. She saw them keeping deadly creatures as companions in their homes. "Commander, I need to show you something," Sojin said on their final day. She showed him a video of a human family. They lived with several large predators that could easily kill them. But the animals treated the humans like family members. The animals protected the human children. The humans shared their food with the animals. They slept together without fear. "This is impossible," Hyunwoo said. "Predators do not behave this way." "It happens everywhere on Earth," Sojin replied. "Humans have somehow learned to make friends with creatures that should eat them. They have dogs, cats, birds, reptiles, and even large carnivores living peacefully in their homes." Hyunwoo studied the video for a long time. Finally, he shook his head. "It is just an unusual adaptation. It does not change the fact that they are primitive and divided. The Council's assessment stands." So Jin saved all her extra observations in a separate file. She had a feeling that someday, someone would want to look at them more carefully. As their ship prepared to leave Earth's solar system, Sojin took one last look at the blue planet. The humans below continued their daily lives, not knowing they had been watched. They went to work, played with their children, cared for their animals, and helped their neighbors. They seemed so ordinary, but something about them felt different. Hyunwoo submitted his final report to the Council. Earth was classified as Category 7. The next observation mission would happen in 1,000 years. The file was stored in the deep archives with millions of other unimportant worlds, but Sojin kept her personal notes. She had a strange feeling that they had missed something important about the humans. She could not explain what it was, but she knew that Earth was not just another primitive world. There was something special about a species that could make friends with their natural enemies and care about strangers they would never meet. Years later, she would realize that what she had seen was the most dangerous force in the galaxy. Director Minho was drinking his morning coffee when the alarm started ringing in the Deep Space Monitoring Center. Red lights flashed on every screen. Emergency protocols activated automatically. In his 30 years of service, he had never seen the system react this strongly. "What is happening?" he asked his lead analyst, Da-un. Da-un was staring at her displays with confusion. "Sir, we are getting massive energy readings from the Sol system. The automated monitoring stations are reporting impossible data." Minho moved to her workstation. The numbers on the screen made no sense. According to the sensors, the primitive humans had somehow achieved faster than light travel. Not only that, but they had built dozens of large structures throughout their solar system. "This has to be a mistake," Minho said. "Run a full diagnostic on all monitoring equipment." Da-Yun worked quickly, checking every sensor and satellite. After 2 hours, she looked up with worry in her eyes. "Sir, all equipment is working perfectly. The readings are real." Minho felt his stomach drop. 50 years ago, Earth had been classified as a primitive world with no space travel. Now they were showing technology that should have taken them thousands of years to develop. "Get me the original survey report," he ordered. So Jin, now a senior analyst, brought up the old files. She had never forgotten her first mission to Earth. For 50 years, she had wondered if they had missed something important about the humans. The original assessment classified them as Category 7, Sojin reported. Commander Hyunwoo concluded they were too divided and primitive to be important. Minho studied the new data coming from the Sol system. The humans had not just achieved space travel. They had somehow built colonies on every planet and moon in their system. The construction speed was incredible. Most species took centuries to colonize their home systems. The humans had done it in 50 years. "Send a stealth probe," Minho ordered. "We need to see what is really happening there." The probe took 3 weeks to reach Earth's solar system. When the data came back, the monitoring center fell silent. Everyone stared at the screens in disbelief. The humans had built massive cities on Mars. They had mining operations on asteroids. They had research stations near Jupiter and Saturn. Their technology was not just functional, it was elegant and efficient. Some of their designs were actually better than Council standards. But the most shocking discovery was not their buildings or ships. It was what they had brought with them to space. "Are those animals?" asked Taemin, a junior technician. Da Yun zoomed in on the images. On every human colony there were creatures from Earth, not just small animals but large predators. Wolves, big cats, bears, and other dangerous species lived alongside the humans in space stations and planetary colonies. "This is impossible," Minho said. "You cannot transport predators to space colonies. They would kill the colonists or destroy equipment." But the images showed something different. The predators were not caged or controlled. They moved freely among the humans. They seemed to be helping with work. Some of them appeared to be wearing spacesuits designed for their specific body shapes. Sojin was studying the behavioral data. "Sir, I think the animals are not prisoners. They are partners." She showed them videos from the probe. Human workers were doing construction jobs alongside wolves wearing protective gear. Large cats were helping to guard important facilities. Bears were assisting with heavy lifting operations. "Look at this," Daun said, pointing to another screen. "The humans have created special areas for the animals on every colony. They have built parks, play areas, and comfortable living spaces. They are taking care of these predators like family members." Minho shook his head. "No species does this. Predators are dangerous. Smart species avoid them or eliminate them. They do not bring them along when colonizing space." Over the next few days, more data arrived from the probe. The picture became even stranger. The humans had not just brought Earth animals to space. They had also made contact with other life forms they found in their solar system. On Europa, one of Jupiter's moons, they had discovered simple sea creatures. Instead of studying them in laboratories, the humans had built underwater habitats where they could interact with the creatures safely. They were teaching the sea creatures simple communication methods. On Titan, Saturn's moon, they had found complex chemical life forms. The humans had created special environments where these beings could thrive. They were trying to learn the creatures' language and understand their culture. "They are not just colonizing space," Sojin observed. "They are making friends with everything they meet." Daeyun was analyzing the humans' expansion patterns. "Sir, their growth rate is accelerating. At this speed, they will reach the edge of their solar system within 20 years. After that, they will start exploring nearby star systems." Minho felt a chill run down his spine. The Council had hundreds of member species, but most of them stayed close to their homeworlds. Space travel was expensive and dangerous. Most species only explored when they needed resources or new territory. The humans were different. They seemed to explore because they were curious. They wanted to meet new forms of life. They were actively seeking contact with other species. "Pull up the files on nearby star systems," Minho ordered. The star map showed dozens of Council worlds within 50 light-years of Earth. If the humans continued their expansion at the current rate, they would encounter Council territory within a century. Sojin was studying the human social structure. "Sir, I think I understand how they developed so quickly." She showed them communication networks connecting all human colonies. Instead of competing with each other, the colonies were sharing information and resources. When one colony made a discovery, they immediately told all the others. "Look at this," she continued. "When they encounter problems, humans from different colonies work together to solve them. They send their best people to help wherever they are needed most." Daeun found something even more interesting. They are not just cooperating with other humans. They are learning from the animals they brought with them. The probe data showed humans studying how wolves worked in teams. They were copying pack hunting strategies for their exploration missions. They were learning patience from cats and strength from bears. They were using animal senses to detect dangers that their technology missed. "This is beyond unusual," Minho said. They are the first species we have ever observed that actively learns from non-intelligent life forms. As weeks passed, the probe sent more disturbing information. The humans were not just expanding randomly, they were being strategic. They chose colony locations that would be perfect for different types of life forms. They were preparing their expansion routes to be welcoming to any creatures they might encounter. Sojin made the most worrying discovery of all. Sir, I think the humans are expecting to meet other intelligent species. She showed them human art and entertainment from the colonies. The humans were creating stories about meeting aliens. But unlike most species, their stories were not about conquest or fear. They were about friendship and cooperation. They are mentally preparing themselves to make friends with whoever they meet, Sojin explained. They are practicing how to communicate with different types of beings. They are learning to understand cultures that might be completely different from their own. Minho realized the situation was much more serious than a simple technology advancement. The humans were not just developing tools and weapons, they were developing social skills that could make them incredibly dangerous to the established galactic order. Send an emergency report to the Council, he ordered. Mark it as Priority 1. As Daun prepared the report, she asked, Sir, what category should we classify Earth now? Minho stared at the images of humans and predators working together in space, of humans teaching themselves to communicate with alien life forms, of humans preparing to explore the galaxy with open arms instead of closed fists. I do not know, he admitted. We do not have a category for this. The report was sent to the Council with a single recommendation: immediate reassessment of the human species. The 50-year gap in observation had allowed something unprecedented to develop. The humans were no longer a primitive species that could be safely ignored. They had become something the galaxy had never seen before.